Faith on Film. I'm Isaac Hernandez.
And I'm Holly McClure.
And we are here to keep you informed on everything that's happening in the world of faith and family entertainment. Holly, do you remember the pandemic?
I want to try to forget the pandemic is what I'd like to do.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, that is true. But you know what? There were some people that didn't let that stop them. In fact, actually, I think it compelled them to become even more creative. A lot of films were done during the pandemic. And our guest today actually launched a short film festival. The idea was you had to do these films, short films, in your house because you couldn't get out of your house.
I remember when he did this.
And it became really hugely successful. He got a ton of submissions. I don't know how many, but I remember it was a lot of them. He himself also created one. And now he's taken that and turned it into a full episodic series that's going to be available on PureFlix, or is available on PureFlix. And I tell you, it's very exciting. We have him here today. We're going to find out all about it.
And what's the name of this series?
Again, it's called Fragment.
Fragment.
And you know what? Let's take a quick look at the trailer for Fragment.
Please stand by for an announcement from the acting president of the United States, President Torres.
My fellow Americans, today we have experienced the greatest global crisis in the history of mankind.
Second Sunday. Everyone left remembers where they were and what they were doing. Sometimes it feels like the ground is shaking again. You never forget something like that.
What we do know is that a mass of the population has gone missing.
Is he back there? My baby?
The hardest part isn't them not being here. It's knowing why I am.
Level 4 curfew is now in effect.
Meanwhile, you and your GPC buddies act as if the billions that we've already lost wasn't enough.
Every day, Liberian terrorists wreak havoc on this country.
The whole world fell apart.
They will send an investigator after us.
Because I will report that religious nonsense.
Some people trying to cope while others just trying to survive.
If this fails, I will hang you with it.
Things are gonna get worse. Really bad. Okay? I've gotta get out of here.
All gone and we're stuck here in hell. We're in hell!
Nothing like a worldwide crisis to bring out the best of mankind.
Wow. Now, Nathan, you are, of course, the founder of Kingdom Sight Studios. You've produced several short and feature films, including your two latest, Stealing the Show and Sleeper Agent. But today you're here to talk about Fragment. Can you just give us an idea of how you went from this little short, I don't know if you did somewhat of a series, but it was short segments, into a full episodic series that's now available on PureFlix?
Yeah, no, it was really cool. During the lockdown, I just felt somebody was going to view this situation as an opportunity. And I just felt challenged that I wanted to do that. And for me, it was getting up on a Tuesday. I remember it was a Tuesday. And just challenging my other filmmaking friends and saying, hey, let's create something. And I wanted to tell the story using the backdrop of lockdown and the virus and the pandemic and the scare that was in everybody's world, and put that with the idea of what would happen if billions of the population literally went missing, and what would the world look like? What would happen? what would the governments do? What would people do? And so I wrote a series, I guess you could say. It was 3 parts, 10 minutes each. And my family and I produced it in our house. And God took it from there. And we got connected with PureFlix. And they said, hey, have you ever thought about expanding this beyond what you were doing? And I said, I have. I really think there's a lot that could be done with the series and the stories, and the idea that what would that world look like, but never trying to wrap it up so much into the common Christian terms, but instead, what would it look like if these people, they didn't know what happened, and they're exploring it and discovering it along the way. The backdrop of the last couple of years has made it a lot more relatable than I've ever timed myself. Between, again, government overreach and riots and reactions, and now all of a sudden global, that push for global government systems and things like that I think we can look at and say, I could see how this type of a thing could lead to those Book of Revelation type environments that we read about.
Nathan, is the series just one, 8 episodes, or are you going to pick up a second season or a third? Is it ongoing?
I hope it's ongoing. And that's one of the things that we try and explain. So right now it's 6 episodes. They'll be somewhere between 20 to 30 minutes long, and they're jam-packed. They have so much stuff in them, between action and thriller and suspense and drama. And our hope is that the response is really good, and we can do 3 to 4 seasons of the series. That's my hope. But in order to do that, we need people to go to PureFlix and watch it and rate it and share everything about it and tell people that we have to have more. And I hope we've done a good enough job leaving everybody on a cliffhanger that they don't have a choice.
I love that in the intro of IMDb, I love that it says, I'm going to read it, in a world where there's a worldwide catastrophe. And I think of that guy that did the trailers, in a world, I think that voice, and it's so classic. I love it. I love how they introduced that on IMDb.
Now, Holly, did you notice somebody in that trailer that you might recognize?
You want to go like this? Is this the segment where you go like pat on your?
Yeah,
yes,
really,
the president.
The acting president. I'm telling you, that right there alone is going to guarantee the success of this series.
He said with modesty. No, but I was impressed, Nathan, because and yes, Isaac, we were impressed with your performance. I was impressed with how the action and adventure. I mean, it's. That's pretty dynamic. I mean, these characters are fighting and going and running. It is an intense pace. I like those kind of shows. I like that kind of, I enjoy those. So this is something that, is it for all ages? Is it for teens to adults? Is it for 12 and up? What would you say?
I think, I hate to put an age range on what different people allow their kids to watch. There are intense moments. It's nothing more intense than you would watch in, say, a Star Wars. So depending on what you feel about that, I definitely think teens and up are going to love it. I think they're going to connect to so much of the story. My daughter, who's 6, is fascinated by it. She's like, hey, can we watch this part again? And she loves it. So, I would say anybody is going to find something. If you like something that has some suspense, has intense elements, but also makes you think way deeper than you probably wanted to, then you're going to like Fragment Oblivion.
Wow. So you know what? It's a good thing that you did it for, in essence, teenagers, because there's a lot of content for kids and there's a lot of content for mom and grandma. Very little content for men and teens, and this definitely would be one of those. So you've hit a niche, I think, that is kind of underserved.
No, I agree. And I think it's unfortunate. I think we missed the mark a lot with that. One of the things I liked about what Fragment has done and provided for us as as filmmakers is an opportunity to expand the genre of Christian film, to push it past some of the more normal or already done dramas and inspirations into what can we do to take our message of Christ and hope outside the walls of the church a little bit. And so Fragment, I think, offers that. There are other shows on PureFlix that do that as well. Guardians and Vindication kind of provide some of that. I think what's unique about Fragment is we don't use Christianese in the show. Christ is evident in everything we do in it, but it's one of those things where if you're a believer, you'll see it, you'll hear it, and you'll go, okay, that makes absolute sense to me. I get that. I know what they're talking about. But it won't repel somebody who doesn't know Christ, because we don't necessarily force that on them. We allow them to come to that conclusion on their own, which I
good
think
for
is really
you.
important.
I'm glad you did it that way. So that's not Christianese, and it makes it easier to have someone say, hey, watch this. It's pretty good. It's pretty cool. You're going to get a broader audience that way. Absolutely. Are you surprised, Nathan, with things that you put in the script that now, after these events have been even in the last 6 months, are you surprised at what's taking place in the government that's kind of matching up with your storyline?
It was funny. We would be on set, and we would do a scene, and something would happen in the world, and we'd be like, man, this just feels too real sometimes. Some of the things we're talking about between, vaccine clearances and IDs and ration cards and all of these things that you can very easily extrapolate and forecast into the future. And we're telling the story, yet we're seeing it playing out in so many places. And I think that's God's timing and his ability to say, okay, we need this now. We need a story like this now to kind of help maybe connect the dots for some people and to say, okay, something in the world is bothering me. There's a show that's talking about what that would look like. And I didn't want to set it into some distant future that wouldn't be relatable, but I wanted it to be like, what, we could very easily see how this could play out in the next 5 to 10 years, potentially, right? What would that feel like? And so I worked hard to try and keep it somewhat in the future, but not so much that it was unrelatable and therefore gave an audience member a chance to disconnect with that story.
Right. Life imitating art and art imitating life. It really was that and is that. Yeah. And was the actor that played the president, was he difficult to work with? Did you have a hard time having him do his scenes?
Total diva.
He was a diva.
It was ridiculous. It was so bad I couldn't even shoot it myself. I had to have somebody else to do it. I was like, I can't even be in the room with the guy.
Yeah, that would be me.
Well, this is exciting to see. What other projects do you kind of have that are going to be coming up now that this is launched and doing so well?
Well, I'm working on a fun story. I say fun in that I get to work with Leyland Clausen, who was a co-writer and producer on Sleeper Agent. We're going to be doing a drama focusing on the life of a Christian comic and what that being on the road actually looks like. And I'm really excited to tell that story. I did another feature with Crosswind, which is the nonprofit that I get to be in charge of. We shot a Christmas movie, and that'll be coming out this winter. Once Upon a Christmas. It's the story of what if Scrooge went back to high school. And I'm hoping to not only do another season of Fragment, but I've got a science fiction idea that I really want to get off the ground as well. Okay. So I'm hoping this will help launch a lot of the things I want to do and give me a little bit of a firm foundation to stand on.
Hey, Nathan, let's take a look at another trailer that you created. And then when we come back, we'll continue talking with you about the series Fragment, available now on PureFlix.
Is he back there? Is he back there?
Are you all right?
Yeah, he's back there.
Who?
My baby.
Second Sunday. Everyone left remembers where they were and what they were doing.
My fellow Americans, today we have experienced the greatest global crises in the history of mankind. But what we do know is that a mass of the population has gone missing.
The hardest part isn't them not being here. It's knowing why I am.
You and your GPC buddies act as if the billions that we've already lost wasn't enough.
Level 4 curfew is now in effect.
I figure you guys are making plans.
Making plans?
To escape.
They will send an investigator after us.
Because I will report that religious nonsense.
The harder we push, the more risk of exposure.
Don't lecture me on exposure.
Could I lay my life down for someone else? That's what true heroism is. Someone laying their life down for somebody else, even when I didn't deserve it.
Love is really the only thing that can save us. It's what already saved us.
The worst fear I ever felt. When I finally put my faith in something I couldn't see.
We need your help. We need some hope.
All right, I have to ask you, it's like a parent, which is your favorite child? It's hard to pick, but do you have a favorite scene or a favorite show or that kind of stands out that you enjoyed doing more than the other ones?
A favorite. I think I enjoy different elements for different reasons. So as a writer, there are moments that stand out. We had a scene between Gigi's character and Sharon Lanier's character, and it was so amazing to watch these actresses work. I mean, it was intense and it was wonderful. And we got done and everybody was like, that was really cool. And it was fun as a writer to see that brought to life. As a cinematographer and an all things visual nut, there was these moments where we would shoot something. And one of my favorite shots is when Tim's character is running through this parking garage and you see all the light streaks and just the way it came together. I just think it's so stunning. And then, I liked doing all the action, but I hated doing all the action at the same time because I was just afraid somebody was going to, miss a punch somewhere and we're actually going to have a black eye now and, having to deal with that. And Jonathan Wessel, who was our stunt coordinator, he was amazing and he would do things. He'd be like, yeah, no, we could make this easy. And he would do it. And I'd be like, no one's going to be able to do that, Jonathan. You're like the only feasible person that can make that work. And he'd do our stunt driving and we'd all be afraid of like, who's he gonna kill, what camera equipment is he gonna, and he never did. He was really great with it. So I think my favorite episodes, I loved the beginning of the second episode. I just loved the introduction to Harrison's character, and I really loved episode 6. I just felt like it had this culminating everything that could go wrong. They're experiencing, they're on the run, they're trying to figure things out. And so I love episode 6 a lot as well. So, but yeah, it's like my children. I like all of them.
Now, was there anything that happened maybe that kind of went wrong or that's a funny story that happened during filming?
Isaac, there is, and I appreciate you having to make me tell this story yet again.
That's why I said it kind of in code, just in case there wasn't. You could talk about something else. I think it was hilarious.
Oh yeah, it's hilarious to anybody who hears the story,
right.
Not so much for those of us who are part of it.
Okay, what was it?
So on Fragment, we were really concerned about realism, and we had these GPC officers in head-to-toe black uniforms, and they had balaclavas and helmets, and I had found some really great AR-15 type rifles that were airsoft, but you wouldn't know. And we were filming our second day of production, and we were outside in the city of Pueblo, and we had what I had thought we had gotten permission for. That'll come back to bite me later, as you'll see. And we were filming outside this church, and it was a very simple scene. We just had a group of these agents coming to meet our detectives, and they were going to go into the building. And we had filmed everything else, thankfully. And it was about 12:30, and we were filming the scenes. We had everybody who was in crew. We all had our safety vests on and had the camera out there and were working. And we were setting up for our last angle when a police officer stopped behind our agents, our GPC agents. And I thought, okay, this has happened before on sets when you're filming at night. Sometimes they'll stop and they'll be like, hey, is everything all right? What are you doing? And so I walked over to communicate with them and say, yeah, we've had permission or whatever, and just filming a scene. Before I could get over there, the officer got out and drew his weapon and started yelling everybody to get down on the ground now. And so he was one of 30 officers that showed up to set. They circled us. They all drew their weapons. They had us all get down on the ground, including my, at the time, 16-year-old daughter, who I was separated from. And they were yelling at us that if we moved, they were going to shoot us.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
So we were that was fun. And so they would pull us all back one by one and cuff us and search us. And they were trying to figure out what was going on. When I was the third one cuffed, and unfortunately, fortunately, I guess, if it was going to be somebody, I'd rather be me. I had the worst of it is I was in between all the groups, and one group was telling me to get up, the people behind me, and so I got up on my knees, and the group in front of me didn't hear them, and so they started yelling at me to get down, get down, get down, and these people are telling me to get up, get up, get up. And so I said, they're telling me to get up, and I had to listen to the game of telephone that went around to the police officers. I said, no, they're talking to him. And so I got up, and they cuffed me, and I tried to explain to everybody. I was like, no, I had talked to so-and-so, and we had got permission, and they were like, well, it didn't get to us. I'm like, well, that's not really my fault that you didn't communicate, right? But eventually they called the pastor of the church we were at, and he comes down. I'm sitting in the back of the car with my hands cuffed, and he looks through the window and waves at me. And I was like, hey, this is fun. And I was like, you need to get us out of here. They finally let us all out, kind of corralled us together. And they're like, yeah, that was a crazy miscommunication. So good luck. And they bolted within 5 minutes and just left us all there. There was nothing they could do because we technically had permission. Comes to find out, somebody had called in a active shooter scene, and so they showed up as if we were active shooters.
Oh my gosh.
The sheriff's office is right across the street from the church where we were, so they're watching on security footage, and they're like, do you understand where we were and what you were doing? I was like, yes, fully. That's why I asked for permission.
And it's called in the film world, we had permission to shoot there. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, and we were like, did you not see the camera? The guys coming and going, and Mark, our lead, he's too broad-shouldered to sit in the back. So he was sitting there, and they grabbed his prop, and they're like, this is just a toy. And he's like, yes, because it's fake. Like, what did you expect? Like, it's not real. It's like gaff taped closed. Like we wanted it to look real, but not be real. And so that was our second day of production, which set the tone for Fragment. Every time we were out doing action in public and had these guns, I was calling not only to verify permission, but I would call the police departments and I would tell them, we're going to be here. Don't shoot us. So that was a lot of fun.
Did you get any of that on film? Did anyone record it or tape it? The arrest? I mean, that's like a scene right there with a handcuff.
It'd be funny. We had just moved the camera, so we didn't hit record yet. But Benji, our sound guy, he actually recorded it, and he had terrible too because he had a sound vest on, and they were like, I mean, he's wearing essentially a suicide bomb. It looks like to them, right? Because it's got lights and all these wires and they're like, get down, and he has his headphones on, and he can't hear them because the mic is pointed elsewhere, and so he's trying to listen, and they're getting more angry, and so he slips the headphone, and he's like, I can't hear because I have headphones on, and so he stands up, and they're asking him to walk backwards. He says, can I pick up the mic? because he's having to drag now his boom mic across the concrete to get back to him. They thought my daughter was a trafficking victim. It was a mess.
Wow.
And we're just very grateful that everybody on set handled it with such calm and poise, because it could have gone bad very quickly.
Oh, my gosh.
God protected us. So
that wasn't what I was thinking of, though. I was thinking of the part where the actor kept forgetting his lines. That's what I was talking about. Sure.
Believe it or not, we didn't have a lot of that. We were all too scared.
I love that story, though, because, a lot of people think when you're filming things like that, everyone knows you're filming a show. Everyone knows you're filming. So, they don't assume that you would be actually. First of all, I can't imagine being handcuffed and thrown into the back of a car. I don't know. That would traumatize me. And then to have my daughter and not be able to get to her, that would even also be very traumatizing.
It was tough. I mean, that once I started to realize, okay, I've said what I needed to say. They're looking. I was like, where's my daughter? I can't see her.
Yeah.
And then you start getting claustrophobic in the back there. And I'm not a small person. And so my hands being behind my back, I started to lose, my fingers went numb. It took Benji and I a couple weeks for our hands to work properly again because of it. Wow. They would ask us, "What's the show about?" And we were like, "Well, something kind of like this." This is kind of it. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Nathan,
do you guys want to be in the movie? That you should have said you want to be in the movie.
Yeah, really.
We can film you doing this again. Oh my gosh.
Well, Nathan, as always, we've run out of time, and that was a great story to finish off with. Actually, once again, how can they follow you? What's the best way to reach you, or
not
maybe
call
not
you,
reach you, but not call you?
Follow you.
Follow what you do.
So Kingdom Sight Studios and Nathan Blair on social media. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. Please follow the Fragment Oblivion Facebook page and social media.
Yes.
Pay attention to what we're doing there. Watch the show on PureFlix, like it, rate it, tell them how great it is, and demand that they make more like it and they make more of it.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
And we want to see several seasons.
Yes.
Several seasons, right?
Yes. Because we want to see more of the president. So.
Well, Nathan, God bless you and your family, and we hope that you will continue great success with this, and we will keep up with it. So, come back and let us know if it's been renewed, and we can continue it. So, thanks for being with us, though.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
All righty. Well, Holly, that was.
I love hearing those stories.
That was a great part of that story. Yeah. But unfortunately, again, we've run out of time. So I just have enough time to remind you that we want to hear from you. Write us at faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. I always have to rush through this. faithonfilmtv@gmail.com. And go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@faithonfilmtv, and subscribe and hit that little alarm button, because that is how you're going to get the announcements of every time we load up a new show. All right, Holly.
God bless.
God bless.
See you next week.
Bye-bye.